Behind me is the all-new Nissan Ariya. This is a fully electric crossover SUV from Nissan. This competes with vehicles like Volkswagen ID4, Hyundai Ioniq 5, Kia EV6, and of course, Tesla Model Y. So I'm really curious to jump into this car and see how everything feels. Does it feel premium? Does it feel cheap? Where does it kind of fall in between these cars? But today we're really focused on build quality. I want to see how this thing's screwed together. This is the first year for the Ariya, so I'm really anxious to see, are these panels misaligned? Are they screwed together nicely? What does this thing actually feel like? So we're going to be going outside as well as inside, and this is a factory fresh Nissan Ariya. I'll talk about that in a bit. Now, for you paint nerds like myself and detailers, I'm curious to see, one, what is the thickness of the paint? Do we have enough to polish on this? How are these cars coming in? Do they have tons of scratches, sanding marks, dust nibs? What does the paint actually look like? So I hope you guys enjoy this one. Welcome back to Out of Spec Detailing. So before we get into the actual build quality of the car, let me tell you what's going on here. Some interesting stuff going on inside, but this is the Venture Plus trim. This is a front wheel drive Nissan Ariya. This retails at $48,835 with one option, and that is the two-tone paint option that you see here. Now, this car is a factory fresh car, and what do I mean by that? Well, the owner of this particular car actually asked that this car was not PDI'd and prepped as far as washing, taking all the plastics off. So this car actually has 1,435 miles on it, which you may be shaking your head going, wait, what do you mean? Well, if you pop back here, you can see this car is actually a Wisconsin car. We're here in northern Colorado at Clear Detailing, and the absolute legend Troy decided that he wanted for you guys to see a brand new Nissan Ariya in its basically factory fresh stage. So he asked them not to wash it. He said, leave all the plastics on here. He's been driving around for a month with everything on here just so this could be on video, unwrapping it. This is just the coolest thing ever. So you guys all need to give a huge shout out to Troy and his new Nissan Ariya. Just absolutely awesome. But I think it's now time to start build quality. So coming up here, no better place to start than the charge port. Really interesting decision by Nissan to actually put it here on the passenger side front fender. To be honest, I have never actually seen a car, you guys may in the comments know of one that has it over here, but really interesting location. You know, think Rivian R1T and R1S, they have it up here on the driver's side. Taycan, e-tron has it over here, opposite on the driver's side, so really interesting there. But let's talk about this charge port. So I'm already noticing down here, definitely a little bit tighter on the panel gaps versus up here. It seems to me that this needs to kind of do one of those actions, but it actually looks pretty decent as far as how it sits flushly. Now let's talk about the charge port here. Manually operated and closing. Now, my personal opinion, I do prefer how something like Tesla has it to where you can press it, it automatically opens, you can open it from the screens inside, but it's not gonna fail. This is like a normal gas cap. It's not gonna get to the point where the actuation gets off, anything like that. So really, really like this. I will say, so we have a Volkswagen ID4 and it's over here on the passenger side rear quarter panel. And every time I unplug it, I leave the darn door open. So just something you have to get used to. That's just me. But what I really like here, so we don't have a seal around the actual charge port, but we do on the actual, doors here. So we have our AC charging and DC charging, both with flaps on them. They've got this really nice integrated rubber seal that definitely seems to keep out water, dirt, debris, everything like that. Really important. I also like how, this DC port covers all this. In our Volkswagen ID4, we've got this cheap, it feels like it's maybe cost them a penny to do with this rubber strap. It sits down here and actually like dangles and scratches everything. I really, really don't like that. So this is way better. This is kind of interesting here. I would kind of think that how this door is designed, that it would automatically close those. Nonetheless, really like this design. Looks pretty darn awesome. So now jumping back over here, lots of stuff going on the Ariya. Now, I just, again, want to make a note. This is the first time I've ever seen a Nissan Ariya in person. Seen lots of photos on this. I honestly don't know too much about these cars, to be perfectly honest with you. So we're gonna walk around kind of together, and I'm gonna point out things that I see. Now, just looking here, some panel gap stuff going on. So really tight here between the front bumper and quarter panel. Again, talking about the Charge Sport, this door looks really nice. And then the hood looks nice, but just interesting how tight this is versus here. This sits really nice and flush, especially up here. That would seem quite complex to me to get put on nice and neat. What's interesting here, this front headlight is actually split into two pieces. So you have this top portion and then the bottom DRL. But we've got some panel alignment stuff going on, if you ask me. So really tight here. We've got a pretty big gap here, and then a lot bigger here versus here. Interesting stuff there. Does it look horrible? I don't know. That's for you guys to kind of adjust on your own. Now, some interesting stuff going on with this hood versus this piano black piece. So I hope you can see it actually kind of sticks up there. To me, it looks like that's how it was designed to be, but I would think for aero efficiency, probably not ideal. Now, speaking of this piano black piece, just want you to sit here and look. A lot tighter here than it is over here. Definitely you can see as it tapers down this way. Some build quality stuff going on there for sure. Really tight over here. This to this actually looks good, but then we pop over here. Definitely a little bit more gap going on there. This plastic piece here is really interesting. You can see this texture behind there. I think this looks really nice. The Nissan badge looks extremely premium if you ask me, but something that I'm kind of noticing on this car, now the front end of this gives me very Mercedes electric cars, think EQS, EQE, with that huge grille in there, but really interesting. What I just want to make note of that I'm kind of feeling with the Nissan Ariya here is that they're making this a lot more complicated than it should be, and I'm curious to see how that kind of goes as far as build quality. You know, having fenders that are an additional add-on, having this whole diffuser down here. I mean, look at the pieces here. Different piece, different piece, different piece. We've got a little plastic here, some grill. Now, if you take a look at like a Tesla, the whole front bumper is one piece. No fenders, so a lot more issues may arise down the road when they're trying to put these together, but I'm really curious. You know, this is Nissan's first year building the Ariya. I'm curious to see how this is actually going. So far, I'm decently impressed. Something I really want to make a note of, and I really like, is how they've integrated the park distance sensors onto the black area. Looks really clean. They kind of hide away. These are the air curtains for the wheel. Looks pretty darn good. Now, again, over here, noticing this panel gap up here, getting pretty darn big on the headlight compared to the actual hood, and a huge gap here compared to the other side. Now the hood fender alignment, again, looking really, really good here. I like to see that. This looks about the same as the other side as well, and I am glad to say that these fenders look like they're going on nicely. Lots of thoughts going on here on the doors. You know, this is something I really see a lot, that a lot of manufacturers actually struggle getting doors on straight, getting these alignments pieces done, and let's talk about what's going on here. So from front fender to driver's door, this looks super nice. So we've got a really nice integrated seal. This follows the same gap the whole way down. Now up here, we are running into a little bit of alignment issue. You can see that definitely it goes from a really thin panel gap, gets thicker, goes back to thin. So some stuff going on here, but not bad at all. Now, down here, and this is what I'm talking about with Nissan adding all these extra pieces instead of having one solid door all the way down. When you start adding on all these little plastic pieces, you can run into alignment issues, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. So let me pop you down here. Notice quite a big gap here versus here, and this actually sticks out quite a bit versus the front here. Now on the back side here of this driver's door, having the opposite effect. Still a big panel gap, but you can see the driver's side is pulled out compared to the back piece here. Something I see a lot on all vehicles. You know, especially Rivian has been having a ton of issues with this. So happy to say this is looking really good. This back door here, absolutely flush. Look how nice this is. A really good panel gap all the way here. This area is like a huge jigsaw puzzle, something again that I saw Rivian struggle on with the R1S, where these panels here, these kind of clip-on fenders, really did not align well at all. Now talking trim, so there's two pieces here. We've got this silver trim that follows right over top of the windows. Let's see how it is back here. And something I'm noticing, this panel moves quite a bit. I hope you can actually see that. Doesn't seem like it's clipped in totally back there, but talking window trim here, this all looks extremely good back here. Really nice alignment. Honestly, something that big manufacturers really struggle with. Now up here, we do have a little bit of issues with it. This is pretty common to what I see. You can see it's a little bit low on the driver's side here, front door versus rear door. So some alignment stuff going on there. Wouldn't say it's the end of the world. The pillars look really nice all the way up, but up here, again, one of those jigsaw puzzles. So we've got 4 different pieces coming in together. Definitely some alignment issues going on here. Not the end of the world, but it is sitting, like this is sitting out, this is pushed in, and just not aligned perfectly, but definitely wanted to make a note of that. One thing I am noticing on this car that I like and dislike, and let's talk about that. And that is the integration of this textured black plastic. Now, I have a love-hate with this stuff, but I also have a love-hate with this gloss panel black. So on the Nissan Ariya, we only have it here on the mirrors and in here on the cowl. I think that gives the impression that this is a more premium vehicle. You know, I really think on like Tesla Model Y, think about all these fenders, this whole side sill down here, fenders, whole rear diffuser, is all that textured black plastic. I personally feel that this gloss piano black looks a lot better, but from a detailer's point of view, this stuff's a lot harder to maintain. So it's kind of that give and take, but I do think it looks quite a bit more premium than you see on other vehicles. Now, what doesn't look so premium, I hope you guys are seeing this the same and feel the same, is the door handles. Now, electric cars have always, I don't know why, but had these futuristic door handles that do seem overly complicated. But this one to me feels very parts bin, does not give the impression of a premium vehicle. These look like they're off a $10,000 car, $20,000 car. They just do not look premium. That's my personal opinion. You guys can disagree with me. But yeah, definitely not loving these. The door does kind of shut really, really nice though. But you know, the other part about that is these aren't gonna fail. Think something like Tesla Model S where they pop out. Rivian door handles are the same. You know, even Mercedes all pop out like that. So this gives a lot less things to go wrong, but I definitely think they could have done something with the door handles. Just my opinion. Now, let's keep moving on here to kind of the rear quarter panel area here. Panel alignment here looks pretty darn good all the way down. Nice and tight here on all this piano black. Now you guys are probably seeing these scratches here. These were actually caused by the actual owner of this car, so we'll have to disregard those. What I am noticing, look at this panel gap here, how big this is. So my pinky here, quite thick. Really weird integrated seal here that doesn't seem to do much. All the panel gaps up here look really good on the spoiler though, other than that huge gap. I think that could be a little less, but seems to be as designed. Also, really crazy spoiler design here, kind of an air curtain coming down here into the rear glass. And talking about the rear glass, what a wild piece of glass this is. Goes from one piece all the way over and actually comes up here onto the spoiler. Crazy big piece of glass there. Moving back here onto the bumper, rear quarter panel, really nice alignment here. Let's see what's going on with the taillight. Really tight up here. Noticing quite a bit bigger gap here, so it seems like it needs to move just a little bit. Now I'm looking at this quarter panel to rear kind of clamshell piece here, kind of some stuff going on. So really tight up here, quite a bit thicker here. This sticks up a lot more than back here. Wondering if I can play a little bit with the bump stops in there, but then I think you're gonna run into issues down here. This looks good back here, so we'll keep moving on. Again, look at all these pieces we're putting on here. So multi-piece bumpers, just so many stick-on parts. Is that a good thing? I don't know. I just, you know, have to make a comment about that. Glass looks really well put together back here. Nice body line all the way around. Also noticing here that the wiper is not centered on the car. That's quite interesting. Haven't noticed that before. Tail light back here. This is really cool. So this is something that kind of reminds me of what Porsche is doing with the actual emblems inside the glass here. I think that looks really, really nice. Looks actually very premium. And Siri's going off here. Back here, I really like how they've done these badges. Those look really, really nice and premium. And as I'm standing back here, look at how nice this panel alignment is all the way on this trunk lid. That is something that is really, really tricky to do. Now that I'm looking at this though, this definitely sticks out more here than it does here. Getting a little bit bigger gap up here as well. Let's check the other side. Yep, a little tighter over here, so maybe some stuff going on, but standing back, it does look pretty darn good. This whole rear bumper piece is quite crazy looking, very sleek, but again, multiple pieces, so it looks like we have a separate piece here, an inset here, and this is separate as well. Kind of crazy stuff going on. Let's take a look over here on this rear clamshell versus rear quarter. Again, really tight and a bit thicker gap. This sticks up quite a bit. Let's see how this is looking here. And this is what I noticed on the other side. This piece actually moves quite a bit. It looks like it's just not clipped in. Just my impression there. Huge gap again here. Really, really big. I don't quite love that, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, anyways. What about the light here on the rear end? So actually this side looks a lot better. This is how it should look. So really tight here, really tight here. Nice job, Nissan, looking good. The rear bumper to rear quarter panel here, nice and tidy. And let's move on to this side doors. We've got the inside unwrapped. This is my first time to actually really look at the whole interior. And I gotta say, just aesthetically, it looks pretty nice, but I'm curious to kind of get inside, feel everything, and get my first impressions of being in this car. Now, first off, $48,000 car. We'll just call it $50,000 because that's basically what it is. Doesn't come with floor mats. Are you kidding me? What the heck? Don't love that at all. So let's start here on the door panel. I really like this vinyl piece here. Stitching looks really nice here. A little bit cheaper plastic up here. Wish that this could be a little bit more premium. Now down here, you start feeling some cheap pieces. I don't know if you can hear that. Do not like that at all. We've also got a gloss black integrated piece here. That's gonna scratch up, show fingerprints. It does look nice for about 2 seconds, and then it doesn't. I really wish manufacturers would stop using gloss black in areas. I understand it, but yeah, really doesn't look that great. Stitching here looks pretty decent. I really like the copper accents in this car. I think it does look quite a bit nicer. And this is the same pattern you're noticing that we had in the front grille. You'll see accents of it throughout the interior of the car. Really kind of cool ambient lighting here, down here on the footwell, so you can see it in the door. Looks really nice, actually. Again, you can see more of that texture here. This just feels very scratchy and cheap. But let's jump inside and see how this feels. So inside, I'm getting very, very strong BMW iX vibes. The way the steering wheel is laid out, the way the screens are. This looks really premium here. But I'm already noticing, so this is actually a button here. You can see it doesn't line up here or here. Now what's really strange, look at how this moves. Oh no, that would drive me absolutely nuts. No thank you, please. This needs to be glued down and stay in one position. Don't like the integration of that whatsoever. Now, I do like all of this in here. This looks really, really cool. Let me turn on the ignition here. The lights come through here. Apologize for the dings. Let's let this thing kind of load up. I really like this. This looks nice. Cool integrated shifter here. Little button on the side here to be able to do that. Again, more bronze accent here. Let's pop this open. Feels okay. It kind of sticks in weird areas. Don't love that. The fans are kicking on outside. I don't know if you can hear that at all. Yikes, they sound a little goofy. Steering wheel here though. I really like the look of this steering wheel. Actually, this may be one of my more favorite EV steering wheels. I still think Tesla Model 3 has the best steering wheel on the market. Just absolutely love it. The fans are already ripping on this. I really, really like how these shine through. Be curious to see how these, wow, those are actually really nice feeling. Cool, I like that, very good. Let's shut it off here. The screens don't feel ultra high definition to me, but they're not bad. They look really aesthetically nice. This car is kind of crazy. It has double the amount of glove boxes than a Rivian. So you've got one here and one here. That is quite cool. Tons of space over here. Those feel extremely cheap to me. Very scratchy plastic, but I really like this part of the dash. Looks really good. Yeah, overall, I'm liking this so far. Let me hop out here and let's start talking about seats. So the seats in here are cloth, and I think they look okay. I think they look pretty nice. They kind of fit the aesthetics. They've got a nice little design. But as you come down here in a $48,000 car, you are manually adjusting your seats. You know, I'm thinking to our personal Volkswagen ID4. It's a $53,000 MSRP. We've got leatherette seats. We've got massaging seats, heated seats. I don't know. Just my opinion, they could do some work. And I'm starting to feel a little bit of cheapness coming out of the Nissan Ariya, if I'm being completely honest. Now, again, love the bronze accents here around the armrest. The really nice stitching there looks pretty darn nice. Let's feel how the doors shut. Nice thud there, really, really good. Let's pop into the back seat. Again, I don't think these handles are horrible. I just think they look very parts binny to me. Now, door panels in the back are always quite a bit different than the front ones. So up here, very similar kind of plastic feeling piece compared to the front. Nice kind of vinyl here. But again, this area, that's horrible. I'm sorry, but that's horrible. This feels really good. Same integrated texture, impression pattern here. Gloss black again, don't love that. Yep, same cheap feeling plastic down there. Really, really don't like that. Now on the back of the seats, we've got this different material. So you can see how it goes from gray to black. You can see how this holds all this dirt, and you rub your hands over that. Yikes, sorry, detailer here, hate cloth seats, my personal opinion. Now this is really strange here. And I was kind of going, okay, what is this? Is this like, it almost looks like a seat cover, but this is for your ISOFIX points. Yikes, and it's Velcroed down to get into your ISOFIX. Really don't love that. I don't think that that's gonna wear very nice. My opinion, doesn't really look that nice either. But great door thud on the back. Let's come over here. I wanted to see, because I was looking at some stitching over here. Okay, yeah, definitely stitching here, not perfectly straight. Everywhere else has actually looked pretty decent. If you're gonna use an accent stitching, it better be bang on, because I can definitely see, bloop, it drops down there. Don't love that, but everything else is looking pretty darn decent. Okay, wow, so driver's side doesn't even have power folding, seats, adjustable seats. I think that's a huge misstep for the Ariya here. Nissan, you definitely need to fix that to compete with some other big boy cars or big boy EVs in the industry, because that comes standard on a lot of other vehicles. Yeah, so inside, overall, I think aesthetically, from here, I think it looks really nice. It's when you start touching and feeling everything that I think you definitely start feeling some of the cheapness coming out. I think it's kind of a weird departure, in my opinion, from the outside of the car, because my impression looks ultra premium outside. I actually think it's a very handsome looking car. It looks, yeah, it looks kind of expensive. It looks sleek. The wheels, of course, are subjective. You can always get different kinds of wheels. These are the you know, standard aero cover wheels, and I believe those actually pop out. But I think the outside looks fantastic. I would say kind of starting to feel a little bit of cheapness inside. Let's just quickly here look at the trunk. Okay, so that's manually operated, but it does go up nice and easily. Got pretty ample storage back here. Ooh, interesting. You get a charging cable. Perks over the ID4. We didn't get one with our 2023 Chattanooga built car. Plenty of storage back here. Now this is, of course, the front wheel drive variant, so you do get a little bit more storage back here. But yeah, no carpets. Again, how is that still a thing? So this is manually closing here. Feels a little heavy to me. That may be something that most people will really not like at all, and I would kind of agree. For a $48,000 car, I'm starting to feel like there's a few missing things, but again, aesthetically, this thing looks freaking awesome. So, you detailing nerds, you've been waiting for it. It's now your time. Let's dive into the paint. What I'm looking for here is, number one, consistency of paint. I'm looking for, you know, the hood to be relatively consistent, all the panels around to be really consistent thickness-wise. I want to make sure we have enough paint to properly polish it on. Again, first Nissan Ariya, first time for me actually going through this. So I like to see anywhere between 4 to 6 mils. That's very average for a normal car. That's about the thickness of a sheet of paper, which is kind of crazy. So what this does, measures from the metal up to the top of the metal point on this. So that's taking into consideration our thickness. What's interesting is like these two back here, these two Model 3s, those cars have about 7 to 9 mils. That doesn't mean we have 7 or 9 mils to polish. That's just saying we've got multiple pearl layers on here to get that pearl white effect. So we're going to take that into consideration. Let's come up here on the fender first. 452, that's a good amount of paint. 3.5, okay, so a mil less. That's a little bit lower than I would like to see. 417, okay. 365, so a little lower there. Anywhere between, like, I don't like to see these cars under like 375, under 3.5. That starts getting where I am a little concerned about it. Almost 5 mils there. 4. Okay, let's keep moving on the hood here. 476, 421, 447. Okay, so a decent amount of paint definitely on the hood. There's definitely some variability going on here. Let's check this. 435, right in that region for me is perfect. So a little bit low here again. Okay, so I'm gonna have to be a little cautious in areas like this. That's why we have this paint meter. It's so important for you detailers polishing on cars. So my impression is this area here definitely has a little bit less paint. Now this meter cannot read plastic down here, so we always have to be more careful on bumpers and plastic fenders, things like that. 358, 368, let's come up here. 445, 450. Great, okay. So a little bit of variability, but not bad. Let's keep moving on to the door here, right by the mirror. 455. Okay, so a little bit low on that back side. That's a great area to have a good amount of paint because you're constantly coming in here grabbing this, chance for scratches. Let's go on the center of the door here. Nice amount of paint down low. But still seeing, so 1.2 mils between a couple of feet, so not the most consistent I've seen. Our Volkswagen ID4 was remarkably consistent. 4 mils there, 4.2, 3.6. So again, a little bit of variability, not the end of the world, but definitely something to consider. Okay, awesome. So that looks pretty decent. So the lower part of the door looked more consistent. Okay, so a little bit lower back here. 5. So we have 5 mils and 3.5. So 1.5 mils difference there. All right, let's move on to the spoiler. I believe this is plastic. It is. This should be metal up here. 679, so black has a lot more. I'm assuming because this has more metallic in it, probably has multiple steps. That's close to 7 mils. If the whole car was like that, you've got a happy detailer. So barely any difference there. Nice. Great. So liking where the gloss black is here. Now I think the gloss black up here is different from the fenders because this is non-metallic. This I can see is definitely metallic. Let me just for good measure, I want to check what this is. 782, so huge amount of paint right there. So again, this back here, plastic, can't read that. I'm curious to see if this trunk, what this is. Nope, so this is all plastic back here. What about here? Plastic. So not much metal on this car if you really consider it. So obviously the doors, the front fenders, the hood and roof, but this is all kind of the ABS plastic. Coming back here above the taillight, 332. Okay, so that's really low. Really, really low. Don't like that. 321. Yikes. Okay, so we're gonna have to be really careful polishing this bad boy. Almost 5 mils up there. Okay, let's move on to the door. Almost 6 mils up there. 376. So 6 mils and 376 nearly. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of inconsistency. Now, this is not something I'm surprised by. This is a brand new product for them. I think it's going to take a while to get their paint booth dialed in. But again, the texture in this car, I'm actually relatively surprised by. It looks pretty decent. Let's just come up here, check what these panels are doing. 725. My gosh, I wish this whole car had that on there. But again, I want to take that into consideration. That doesn't mean that this has a different amount of clear coat than it does down here. So that's always something I keep in mind. But I just like to see more paint on cars. Just in general, that's really what you look for. Wow, the doors look pretty consistent down low here. They look really consistent. Okay, so my impression from the Nissan Ariya paint, it looks consistent as far as texture, but what I'm seeing is a good amount of variability between the paint. Saw some really low readings, so I'm hoping that this car is not super scratched up so that we can do kind of a light to medium compound if necessary, and a light polish and run into no issues. I would like to see a little bit more paint on this. Let's get the lights down now and start inspecting all the scratches, imperfections in the Nissan Ariya. And now it's finally time to inspect the paint. What I'm looking for here, scratches, paint nibs, sanding marks, rotary marks, anything like that, how this car came from the factory. So once again, this car was not washed by the dealership, so it has only been washed by myself since he's had this car. So what are we gonna do here? Well, we're gonna take our scan grip light. For those of you asking what this does, what it does is it gives me a light source on the car so you can see around there. Now this mimics the sun. So if I were outside right now, it's actually snowing, but I can look at the sunlight right around the circle of the sun, see scratches and defects. What this is good for is I can move it around. I can see low areas like this. I don't have to wait for the sun to move in the day. So it's nice to be able to show you guys this inside. I always find it funny when you guys are like, oh, you know, this detailer has to use his little flashlight to find scratches. That's just ridiculous. Why does anybody care? Well, we care because there's scratches in these cars, even from brand new. and I need to be able to move that light source because at noon it's going to look different than 6 o'clock in the afternoon. You're going to be able to see different types of scratches, things like that. But anyways, let's jump into this. First off, what a stunning color this is. This is absolutely gorgeous. I really like the metallic flake in this. Very, very reminiscent to limestone with Rivian. So just moving the slide around, paint looks really nice so far here on the hood. Let me show what you're looking for here. So here on the mirror, so you're gonna see some lint. That's partially because this car has no, protection or anything on it, so it's very tacky and grabby, and it grabs all the lint out of drying towels. But what I want you to look at is around my light source there. See those scratches around there? That's what we're looking for. Also just noticing, look at the glitter bomb that is the roof. Holy smokes, that's pretty. So this is non-metallic black, and this is a gorgeous metallic. Wow, I really like that. Let's see what these fenders. Okay, weird. So fenders are non-metallic black like the mirrors. Why, Nissan, did you not put that on here? This would have looked stunning. It would also hide a lot more scratches. So down here, already seeing, look around that light source, boom, scratches right around there. We're gonna get that all polished up. You'll also notice it looks like there's metallic in there, but what that actually is a little bit of water spotting. So again, this car's driven 1,000 miles, I think 1,300 or so now on the odometer, but it definitely has no protection on here, and this non-metallic black shows everything. I personally wish we would have used this down here. Would have hid more scratches, would have looked way better in my opinion. But let's keep moving on here. Charge port, of course, some of these fingerprints are from me making the video for you guys, but moving along here, looks pretty decent. Coming down here on the front bumper, definitely a few little scratches right there in that area, not too bad. Okay, what's this here? So a little bit of a sanding mark there. So see that dull haze? Boom, right there. So that's a little bit of a sanding mark. We'll have to polish that out, but nothing that I'm too concerned with. Here on the headlight, we've got, yep, a little scratch there right by the light source. Not too bad. Look at how cool this texture is with the light on it. Really, really neat. Definitely some good scratches up here on this piano black piece. That's going to continue to happen, unfortunately. You can see some kind of white marks or fingerprints, whatever that may be. Moving down here. Ooh, okay. So there's a polishing mark right there. Look around the light source. See that kind of ghosty haze? That's what I'm looking for. So first two signs here and here of Nissan polishing on this thing. So that's a little concerning. Why? Well, because we've got some thin paint in areas, so I'm hoping that, there's not big sanding marks like that everywhere so that I can properly polish this out. Okay, this is looking pretty good down here. Again, so much gloss black on this. Detailer's perspective, I really don't love that, but it does look quite nice, and it'll look nice once we get it finished. Some deeper scratches going on this front flare here as well. Another sanding mark right here. Look at that. So let me come in. See how it's really hazy, and then it goes clear and then hazy? So some sanding stuff going on in this area. Okay, so I know that area was a little low, so I'm gonna have to be extremely careful around there. Definitely some scratches right there in the light source. Okay, more scratches. Look at up here. You can see it right to the right of that light source. More going over here in this area, and there's some water spotting going on here too, guys. That'll easily come out with a polish, not a big deal. Let's keep moving down the door here. Door looks pretty darn good. Probably seeing some marks. That may be a little tar that came off the tires on the way here, but overall I'm decently impressed. A few little sanding marks going on here or there. Paint looks actually pretty good. This is a hotbed for little scratch marks here, people closing the door from here. I personally, just being a detailing nerd, when I close doors, I like to grab them like somewhere up here, close them so I'm not touching the paint. I'm kind of weird, I know, that's okay. So keep moving along here down this door, looking pretty good. Definitely, I just saw some scratches. Look at the scratches down here on this piano black. Moving up here on this little fender piece. Okay, more scratches going on there. So far, what I'm happy to say, haven't seen huge sanding marks. There's definitely, so there's 3 little polishing areas they've messed with. Now, I haven't seen a paint nib yet, so that's really good to see. We just did a Model 3 performance build quality video. Definitely saw quite a bit there. Look at the scratches in this area here. Nothing super severe, but we'll definitely need some polishing out. Let's come up here. Great. God, I love this color. This, look at that. This out in the sun is gonna look stunning. Again, this is from the owner. He said, I'll get that polished out, not worry about that whatsoever. This is just a stunning color. Man, oh man, I can't even imagine how good this would have looked like that, but nonetheless. So tail lights here. This is something is so common. Scratches all over these. I see this on every manufacturer. Tesla, Porsche, Audi, Ferrari, Lamborghini, you name it, they all have those scratches here on taillights and like soft headlights. Looking pretty good here. Definitely still some more water spotting here on the piano black. Pretty used to that at this point. Not horrible in all honesty. Few little scratches here and there. Okay, here's one more polishing area. You can see it right there, right around that light source. See how I move that? So Nissan's actually polished that area a little bit. Okay, interesting. So they're definitely doing a little bit of quality control stuff here. That's good and bad. Okay, some deep scratches in this area. This just looks awesome. Look at the scratches here though. Okay, so a little bit of some pigtailing going on there. Looks like this has been sanded right around this light, and they've tried to polish it and then maybe wiped it with their hand after the fact. You can see this kind of ghostiness right here. We'll get that all taken care of. Not worried about that at all. More piano black here. This car is just completely full of piano black. Some big scratches down the door here on the passenger rear door. Yep, okay. More over on this area as well. Sorry if the camera has trouble focusing. It really does not like this light source at times, but that's the only way I can show you. Some more scratches. Okay. So I gotta say, I'm definitely noticing quite a bit more scratches than I would have normally anticipated on a car that hasn't been touched by the dealership. Now, is it something I'm super concerned with? Yes and no. There's some areas, like I said, that's why we look for a consistent paint. If we have an area, I'm just gonna give this for example, if we had a sanding mark right here and it's at like 3.2 mils, I'm gonna be extremely cautious of this area, really not want to go aggressive compounding it to get that sanding mark out, because we do run the risk of burning through the actual clear coat. That's why I am so weird about having thick paint and consistent paint on cars. So few things going on here. My overall impression as far as the paint goes, little inconsistent, a little bit more scratching than I would have liked to seen, but there's definitely some work going on at Nissan. I would say overall though, the paint looks good. It doesn't look amazing, it looks good. That's kind of what I expected. You know, this is a new car for Nissan, so I expect them over a period of time, a year or 2 years, to get their paint booth dialed in, to get their quality control up. But what I am glad to say is I didn't see many paint nibs in here. My dad's Tesla Model 3, this is his car back here that we just did the build quality video with. I saw maybe half a dozen, maybe a little bit more of paint nibs that Tesla just didn't even bother with, which I kind of like and I don't like. You know, Rivian, for one, if you guys go back and see some of the videos I've done on this, they'll just say if you had a paint nib here, they just sand it and basically don't even polish it out. So you have this huge dull spot in the paint. It looks horrible directly from the factory. There's some more things going on there. I'm not going to get into that. My overall impression with the Nissan Ariya, I think it is an extremely sleek looking car from the outside. This view right here just looks stunning. So futuristic looking. I really find it to be a handsome looking car. I think it's unique looking, but I do get a lot of vibes from other cars. See a lot of Mercedes influence here. To me, from the back 3/4 angle, I get a lot of Lexus vibes. I get BMW iX vibes from inside. So I think it's kind of a cool, unique looking car. I think the outside looks really, really good. I think the inside they've really cheaped out on, in my personal opinion. You know, I'm comparing this directly to our Volkswagen ID4 that I've lived with for quite a while now, and I think the interior seriously needs some more work on it. Overall fit and finish though is decent inside, but I think the material choices could be updated quite a bit. And put freaking floor mats in a car. A $50,000 car without floor mats, just insane. But anyways, I hope you guys really enjoyed this tour and build quality review of the Nissan Ariya. Looking really forward to detailing this right after this video. You guys all need to give a huge thank you to Troy for bringing his car all the way out here so you guys could see it. I believe this is one of the first Nissan Ariyas in the country. I mean, I've told multiple people that I have this thing in the shop and they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know those were out yet. So this is extremely cool to have this, and hope you guys really enjoy this one. Let me know what you think of the Nissan Ariya in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next one very, very soon. Bye-bye.